Welcome, Future Diplomats. Today we are tackling one of the most powerful tools in diplomatic toolbox, economics. From inflation to international sanctions, your ability to understand and explain economic trends could make or break a mission. We'll also cover the people part of diplomacy, how to manage a team, resolve conflict, and lead under pressure. Whether you are stationed in a stable ally or a conflict zone, both your economic literacy and your leadership will matter. Just as a reminder, I am not a current diplomat. I am a future diplomat. I am just like you. My goal is to take or retake the FSOT. I'm a part of a study group. I just love to connect people with content that I am able to collect and share. And we do have other presenters coming up as well. So just that full disclaimer. Announcements. As of the last 4 or 5 months, according to Pearson View, the testing dates begin in 15 days. The window opens for you to go in and register. So August 19th through October 2nd, you can register for the October window. As of right now, it is still present on the Pearson View website, which the State Department says whatever's on their site is present information. So we're going to continue to proceed with that. And that is just in a couple weeks. So definitely get ready for that. If you are not taking the October test, you will have an opportunity right after to take the February test. And that is going to open up January 31st as far as the testing window, but the registration will open at the end of this year, which will be December 15th. So I am curious if I have not had a chance to ask you just yet, because I do like to know, and as I do continue to let more people in, which testing day are you looking to tackle? Are you going to, and you can just put in the chat just so I can read it off. Are you looking toward taking it this year, next year, this October, or February, or maybe after? Likely February, this October. Okay. I think I'll tackle it again in February, just so I can just realign. I've been so focused on preparing content, and I believe I have prepared well. I believe I'm actually ready, but when it comes to time management, that's something I'm still working on. So okay, I see unsure of this time, shooting for February, likely February or June. Yeah, and I think that's a safe bet. I think either way, they're going to be happy to see us. Okay, so let's start with GDP. Gross domestic product. As I let one more person in, admit. See if I can just, there we go. So as more people come in, I can just keep rolling with the punches here, maybe. So it's often described as the economic heartbeat of the country, and not just the metaphor. GDP tells us the total value of goods and services produced within a nation's borders during a specific time frame, quarterly or annually. Just so you know, if you want to take notes, I will have quizzes in between each section today. And instead of you having to wait for me to read it off, I've made slides for them so you can just put your answers in the chat. And at the end of all 4 sections tonight, there will be a more advanced quiz that is more aligned with the FSOT. And there is a special gift for those that make it to the end. So definitely stay tuned. Some of you already know what it is, so keep it to yourself. Let's see here. Okay, so when GDP is rising, it usually signals economic growth. People are buying more, businesses are producing more, and governments may collect more tax revenue to fund services. So that's the sweet spot. But when GDP fails or even stalls, it sets off alarms. People may lose their jobs, factories cut production, governments may face deficits, social services, healthcare, and education budgets tighten. And if you're a diplomat posted abroad during one of these downturns, you may need to explain these dynamics clearly to both US officials and foreign partners. Take the US economy right now. GDP is cooling down from the sharp post-COVID stimulus highs. That doesn't mean we're in a crisis. It's part of the normal cycle of expansion and contraction. But perception matters, right? Global markets watch US data closely. Every tick up or tick down can shift global currencies, interest rates, and diplomatic leverage. A small example here. This is ours. The next slide is going to be Argentina. Last year they were at like 100%, and as you see here, as we have gone from and have risen above with the pandemic, our rates are fluctuating, and now we're kind of still feeling the heat in different areas, but this is kind of where we are now as of January 2025. And that's Argentina. So now let's zoom in, well, more so zoom out to China. GDP growth in China has dropped significantly. Why? A massive real estate crisis, massive debt from developers like Evergrande, and declining consumer confidence. People are saving right now instead of spending, and foreign investors are pulling back. For a diplomat stationed in Beijing, Hong Kong, or even Jakarta, that means recalibrating United States expectations on trade, supply chains, and regional partnerships. Then there's inflation, a word that we hear often and constant in our news, a term many Americans hadn't worried much about in decades until 2021. In June 2022, United States inflation peaked at 9.1%, the highest in 40 years. Prices surged for gas, groceries, rent, and more. That created not just economic strain, but political pressure on the Fed, on Congress, and on the president. Inflation has cooled since then, but we are not in the clear. Globally, it's even more dramatic. Look at Argentina, as we shared. Inflation just topped over 100%. That's hyperinflation. Imagine earning your paycheck on Monday and losing a chunk of its value by Friday. For diplomats in Buenos Aires or elsewhere in Latin America, you'll be tasked with understanding how this inflation destabilizes government, increases migration pressure, and shapes bilateral priorities. Bottom line, GDP and inflation aren't abstract stats. They're real signals in how people are living, spending, and surviving. As future diplomats, you'll be expected to read those signals, communicate their meaning, and factor them into U.S. policy responses. So, what tools do governments use? Two key ones: monetary policy, controlled by central banks like Federal Reserve, changes interest rates to encourage or slow spending, and the fiscal policy, congressional taxing and spending, aims to influence consumer behavior and economic growth. So here's the key: As a U.S. diplomat, you'll often be asked to translate these big picture concepts into local impact, especially in embassies where inflation or recession hits hard. All right, our first quiz. Simple. Let's start with the first one. What does GDP measure? Is it A, government debt? B, the total value of goods and services produced? C, unemployment rates? D, national savings? Great. I already see some answers coming in. I see one answer coming in. I see two answers coming in. And so far, we have a consensus that it looks like it's B. 3 says it's B. It is B. So great job there. I got a little present for you. A little confetti, some hearts, all the just the best. Just the best for you. Okay. So if I can move my screen back. Probably will not do it next time because that kind of messed up my pace a bit. But my heart is. Okay. Yep, the answer was B. So the GDP reflects the total economic output of a country and is the key indicator of economic health. Let's talk about another term that we've heard of a lot in the last few moments of our life, and that is tariffs and sanctions. I will say, regardless of how you vote, I've learned some new terms in this presidential administration. And I had to go and understand specifically, what it was about. So let's talk about trade policy. It's arguably one of the most powerful tools in the diplomatic toolbox. It's more than just economics, it's diplomacy with consequences. Trade policies shape relationships, signal intent, and reward or punish behaviors on the global stage. Tariffs and sanctions may look like economic actions on paper, but they often are messages in disguise. And as a diplomat, you'll help interpret and deliver those messages. So we'll start with tariffs. During the Trump administration, our commander-in-chief, the United States, imposed sweeping tariffs on hundreds of billions of dollars on Chinese goods. The stated goal wasn't just protecting United States manufacturers, it was to confront China's trade practices head on, specifically widespread intellectual property theft, state-sponsored subsidies for Chinese industries, and barriers to United States companies operating in China. The tariffs were a blunt instrument, but they sent a sharp message. And essentially, you can't do business with the U.S. on unfair terms anymore. And that's the message that was conveyed. The statement was diplomatic just as much as it was economic. And as a diplomat station in East Asia, you may be called to explain, defend, or even negotiate around the consequences of such trade friction. Okay. The next quiz is going to be coming up shortly. So let's pivot a little bit to sanctions, which are even more targeted and often more politically charged. After Russia invaded Ukraine in 2022, the United States and allies didn't respond with tanks. They responded with economic warfare, which we still see today. Sanctions include freezing hundreds of billions in Russian central bank's reserve, removing major Russian banks from SWIFT system, banning or limiting oil and gas exports, targeting oligarchs and companies with asset seizures and visa bans. These weren't random punishments. These were strategic levers designed to choke off the Kremlin's war financing, isolate Russia diplomatically, and apply pressure without direct military escalation. But Here's what makes diplomacy complex. Sanctions have ripple effects. Europe saw energy prices soar. Germany had to scramble to replace Russian natural gas. African and Middle Eastern countries saw food prices spike as Ukraine supplied grain and exports were disrupted by naval blockades. In some regions, that meant unrest, hunger, and growing anti Western sentiment. As a diplomat stationed in uh, Pakistan, Turkey, or Senegal, you might be pulled into conversations where local officials say, we understand your stance on Russia, but your sanctions are hurting our people too. And those moments, your job isn't just to explain US policy, but to offer empathy, context, and, if possible, alternatives, such as US food aid, energy partnerships, or technical assistance. The takeaway here is this: trade and sanctions are not just tools, they're signals, they're strategy, and soft power. As a future diplomat, your fluency in both the economic fact and the political framing will determine how effective your mission is on the ground. Here's your quiz. All right. The quiz is: what was the main diplomatic pressure? I'm sorry, what was the main diplomatic purpose of the United States tariffs on China under the Trump administration? Was it to raise revenue? Was it to encourage domestic consumption? Was it to pressure China on intellectual property and trade practices? Was it to support small U.S. business? We have one answer saying B. We have another that says C. We have another that says A. We are, and for the first time, we're not all in alignment on the answer. So we have another that says A. When the answer is C, Maddie, you're correct. I think I might still have some confetti left. There we go. There it is. I didn't have to move the screen at all. Perfect. So the goal was to address unfair populations or unfair trade practices and IP violations through economic pressure. All right. So our third section of the fourth four that we have. U.S. budget and global institutions. So last week we spoke about this, and it was a great conversation. But just to align it to, well, a little bit more into what we're speaking about now, I feel like it might be a good topic to touch on again. So let's talk about money. Federal money. As a U.S. diplomat, you'll work with embassies, consulates, USAID teams, and interagency missions funded by taxpayer dollars. You may not draft the budget, but you'll be in the face of it overseas. That means understanding the numbers and the narrative. One of the biggest misconceptions you'll hear when speaking to both foreign partners and domestic critics is this. Let Ruth come in. There we go. Why does the United States send money abroad when we have problems at home? And it's a fair question, especially in the election year, during economic slowdowns or following natural disasters back home. But here's the diplomat answer. Foreign aid makes up about 1% of the federal budget. That's it. Yet, with the small percentage, we buy something far more valuable than just infrastructure or food shipments. We buy global stability, strategic influence, economic access, and alliances that last decades. Let's go back in time. After World War II, the United States launched the Marshall Plan, $13 billion to rebuild Western Europe. It wasn't a handout, it was a geopolitical investment. In return, we got a reliable ally, trade partners, and a domestic bulwark against Soviet expansion. Fast forward to today. We're investing in Ukraine, Haiti, Sudan, and climate vulnerable nations. With Ukraine defending sovereignty and democratic resilience. Haiti recovering from repeated natural disasters and political crisis. Sudan, where humanitarian corridors and governance reforms are vital. And those climate vulnerable nations where we build resilience before instability spreads. And we don't act alone. We partner with international financial institutions like the IMF to stabilize currencies and prevent financial collapse, the World Bank to fund infrastructure and reduce poverty, and of course, USAID to deliver education, healthcare, and democratic development. You may be asked to justify these programs to local media, foreign governments, or even skeptical Americans. So here's your elevator pitch. Foreign assistance isn't charity, it's strategy. We invest abroad to prevent conflict, to create jobs at home through exports, and to shape a world aligned with democratic values. The IMF is the job is to stabilize currencies. The World Bank is to fund infrastructures, and USAID is to provide health, education, and government support. As a diplomat, you will be asked to defend or explain U.S. investments in local infrastructure, even when it's controversial. Quiz 3. Okay. What percentage of the United States federal budget is allocated toward foreign aid? Is it A, 10%? Is it B, 25%? Is it C, 5%? Or is it D, 1%? I'm smiling because I see the answers rolling in and they're all over the place, which either means a couple things. But we have C, we have C, we have D, we have D, we have C, we have D, we have D, we have C, we have D, we have C. Okay, so the answer is definitely D. It's 1%. Although widely overstimulated, overestimated, I'm so sorry, by the public, foreign aid is only about 1% of the federal budget and supports stability, development, and diplomacy. So very often misunderstood, foreign aid is just 1% of the budget, and it plays a critical role in U.S. strategy. Okay. Final section here. And we're gonna kick it up a notch on these questions after this next one. So diplomacy, as it relates to leadership and conflict resolution, diplomacy isn't just, and side note, if you're probably asking, well, how is this going to help us in the FSOT? Well, two things. One, your personal narrative to help give it texture. Also, I'm super confident that you're going to pass the FSOT on this one, and you're going to be able to use this in the FSOA, which I have some great tools to share soon. So diplomacy isn't just about foreign policy, it's about people. As a diplomat, you may lead a section of United States staff and local employees, often more and varied, often very different cultural and professional backgrounds. You'll face situations like this. You're in Nairobi, and an American staffer publicly criticizes a Kenyan colleague over a budget error, or in Tel Aviv, your team is burned out after week 3 of crisis response, no time off, nonstop reporting. In these moments, technical expertise won't matter as much. as emotional intelligence, cultural sensitivity, and clarity of action. A great example of leadership in action is Ambassador Edward Perkins, as the first Black United States ambassador to apartheid era South Africa. He led an embassy team working under pressure, navigating moral complexity while showing up with integrity every day. Leadership in diplomacy is more about managing up to Washington than down to your team and across to your host country, all while preserving a mission success and human dignity. Here's the question. What leadership quality did Ambassador Edward Perkins notably demonstrate in South Africa, in the apartheid South Africa? Was it strategic delegation? Was it moral leadership under pressure? Was it budget negotiation? Was it policy enforcement? Okay, I see the answers rolling in. I see B, 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 B. Okay, and the answer is B. All of you get hearts and claps. Amazing. So, yeah, next slide. We're doing pretty good on time. Okay, the answer is B. Perkins exemplified ethical leadership and encouraged during a morally charged diplomatic assignment. Okay, so here's the big quiz. Actually, quick break before we do hit the quiz. Next week, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into writing. So this is more about skill development, as we've mostly focused on professional development, which is still going to help you professionally and personally as well. I'm a huge fan of journaling, and I do think that as a future diplomat and as a diplomat, you will need to journal your day each day. I've seen ambassadors and different levels of senior and junior diplomats journal every single day, and just being able to flow your thoughts and on paper and being able to be in a meeting and pull from that meeting the important aspects as it relates to sharing that information with your colleagues. I think that's super important. As it relates to writing, as you can see, it's not just about the FSOT. It's not just about personal narratives. It's also about the OA. So we will be discussing professional writing for future diplomats. This is a loaded slide. There will be a small quiz, and there will be a moment for us to write together. This may end up being a two-part. I will try my best to make it fit into one without missing any important details. We have spent quite some time already on the STARL method for crafting those personal narratives, but we're going to also touch on the CCAR method, and I will tell you why next week. Yeah, I'll tell you why next week. So I have been speaking with some current diplomats and some retired ambassadors that work with current diplomats, and I will share some of my findings with you next week. Okay, so in my gift is coming right after this quiz. So this is an FSOT level quiz that I'm about to give you. So if you're secretly from the State Department, don't arrest me. You are posted. So this is quiz number 1, GDP in diplomacy. So I'm going to give you time. So I'm actually glad we finished up early because, well, as far as like the bulk of the content, So out of the things that we've learned and I've shared, now it's time to, instead of just those easy questions, for us to actually put on our thinking cap. And and this is one of those times where, in the real FSOT, just speaking from my own example or my own experience, and also recounting some of your experiences that I received from you, you'll think about the question, and then you just keep thinking about the question, and then you're kind of you may feel arrested with the question, as far as you may just spend a lot of time thinking or just overthinking the question. So this is that level of question. So you are posted at a United States embassy in Jakarta. The Indonesian government expresses concern about failing Chinese demand for exports and slowing regional investment. They ask how the United States views China in their economic slowdown. What should your response emphasize? All right, so I'm gonna read it again without stopping. You were posted in the United States Embassy in Jakarta. The Indonesian government expresses concern about the failing Chinese demand for exports and slowing regional investment. They ask how the United States views China's economic slowdown. What should your response emphasize? Is it A, the United States considers China's growth irrelevant to the Southeast Asian markets? Is it B, the Chinese slowdown will benefit the United States through trade diversion? Is it C, China's growth decline may impact regional supply chains and trade balances? Or is it D, the United States plans to impose new tariffs on Chinese exports in response? I'll read those answers again. What is your response that you should emphasize? And I'll read the question again. You are posted at the United States Embassy in Jakarta. The Indonesian government expresses concern about failing Chinese demand for exports and slowing regional investment. They ask how the United States views China's economic slowdown. What is your response? Is it A, the United States considers Chinese growth irrelevant to Southeast Asian markets? Is it B, the Chinese slowdown would benefit the United States through trade diversion? Is it C, China's growth decline may impact regional supply chains and trade balances? Or is it D, the United States plans to impose new tariffs on Chinese exports in response? The answer is C. So the answer was Chinese growth decline may impact regional supply chains and trade balances. So a slowing Chinese economy affects regional supply chains and demand. Diplomats should acknowledge this and promote shared resilience. So as you can see, this is a little bit more advanced than the typical questions that we do have. This is an example of the level of question that we have in the study guide and also on the study platform, the Future Diplomats Society. All right, quiz 2. And this is inflation and crisis response. All right. You are the economic officer in Buenos Aires during a period of hyperinflation. This is your scenario. Local officials are frustrated with rising food prices and public protest. What is your best diplomatic course of action? Is it A, explain that inflation is a global trend and offer no direct assistance? Is it B, recommend immediate IMF-backed austerity measures? Is it C, express understanding, share U.S. historical inflation experiences, and identify joint solutions? Or is it D, encourage Argentina to dollarize its economy. Austerity means sternness and severity of manner or attitude. So sternness or extreme plainness and simplicity of style or appearance. Marina? Okay, the answer is C. Diplomats must be empathetic, connect with with the host nation concerns, and look for mutually beneficial responses. Sharing United States inflation history builds rapport. All right, I'm going to just read through these because I can see that they may be a bit challenging, which is the goal. I wanted them to be a bit challenging, just to show that, there's different levels to what we're doing here today, and what we've been doing. So I'm just going to read these through, and you'll kind of get a taste of what we're going to be dealing with here soon. So question 3, and I'm not going to wait for the answer on this. I'm just going to give it to you. Sanctions and strategic messaging. The ambassador in Kazakhstan asked you to brief a local media on U.S. sanctions against Russia. Which message aligns best with U.S. diplomatic intent? The United States imposed, so is it A, the United States imposed sanctions to punish Russian civilians? Is it B, sanctions are aimed at weakening Russia's economy and toppling its leadership? Is it C, sanctions are part of the coordinated international effort to end aggression and uphold sovereignty? Or is it D, sanctions are used to deter investment in Russian oil to boost United States exports? The answer is C. The United States uses sanctions to uphold international norms and respond to aggression. Messaging should be coordinated, values-based, and strategic. All right, final 2 questions here. Trade policy as a diplomatic tool. As a political economic officer in Manila, you are asked to explain the United States-China trade dispute. Which explanation best reflects United States policy? Is it A, and this is in coordination with the actual lesson today, tariffs? Is it A, tariffs are a routine part of trade balancing and unrelated to politics? Is it B, tariffs were a response to structural trade imbalances and IP violations? Is it C, the United States wanted to shift manufacturing entirely out of China? Or is it D, the tariffs were intended to reduce consumer prices in the United States? The answer is B. The United States and China tariffs were initiated as a part of a broader challenge to China's trade practices, especially forced tech transfers and subsidies. All right, final question before we go to the gift here. Quiz number 5. So, United States foreign aid narrative. While speaking to university students in Kenya, one asked why the United States sends money abroad when it has homelessness at home. What is the most effective diplomatic answer? Is it going to be A, foreign aid is small and designed to protect United States businesses? Is it B, United States aid is charity, but it builds goodwill abroad? Is it C, aid is strategic and it prevents conflict, fosters stability, and supports United States interests globally? Or is it D, the United States government has separate funds for foreign and domestic issues? Their answer is C. The United States diplomats are trained to frame foreign aid as a strategic investment in peace, security, markets, and values, not as a charity. All right, so here's the gift. Some of you have already received a 6-month trial to a platform that we are building together as a tool to help us build confidence in the FSOA and the FSOT. Here is a 4-month trial that will begin here in August for the Future Diplomats Society. And so just as you are, just so we're on the same page, these spots are a partnership. I am permitting 4 months free, as I did for the 6 months. And we're looking for feedback on making sure that the platform is at the level that it needs to be to help other people. So as I said, I am studying just like you, but I'm also partnered with the retired ambassadors just to make sure that the content is at par and is at the level that it needs to be. We are releasing a study guide next year to make sure that there's actual relevant content to help people pass the FSOT. And this platform is aligned with that content. It's just a virtual version of it. So, and also, if you want to be notified for the session next week, we're going to be switching the link. I have most of your emails already, but if you scan that link, that QR code on the screen, it will take you directly to the site to be able to sign up for the 4-month. And I will get your email from there, and I'll make sure that you are invited to our live sessions. And if for some reason you are not able to scan the QR code with your phone, and if you're happy to just be on the session on your phone, you can just send me a quick email at travis@thefsot.com with your name, so I'll know how to associate your email address to it, and you will automatically be shortlisted for the 4-month trial, and I'll make sure to send you instructions on how to access it. Other than that, thank you so much for attending tonight's session. I'm so grateful. This is my attempt in getting deeper into the content, especially in the writing content. I am a writer of 5 books so far. Respectfully speaking, my latest 3 books are my best body of work, and my next 2 are even better. I can't wait to share those with you, but I can't wait to actually share different techniques on improving your personal narratives, improving your FSOT essay, and also your FSOA written communication. So thank you again for joining, and I'll see you next time. Thank you.